Hey, what's up everybody? Prime22 here, bringing you another episode of Transformers Lore. Last week, we talked about multiversal singularities. This is the second part of the video, and focuses on the Shroud. Our focus is on Ultra Magnus of Primax -408.24 Epsilon, also known as the Shattered Glass Universe. Magnus had gained possession of the Terminus Blade, one of the leftover artifacts of the 13. With it, he intended to create destruction never seen before. With the help of Wheeljack, a Stellar Spanner was created, a Stellar Spanner being a Shattered Glass term for space breach. Using it, they crossed over into Primax 207.0 Epsilon. This universe is also known as the Classics universe, and is one of the many timelines that follows up on Primax 984.0 Gamma, or the Marvel US Comic Universe. With the invasion of Primax 207.0 Epsilon, Ultra Magnus used the Terminus Blade to destroy the universe with the exception of Earth, and drag the Earth of Primax 207.0 Epsilon into Primax -408.24 Epsilon. The invasion of Primax 207.0 Epsilon was a cataclysmic event in the history of the multiverse, and the details will be covered in a separate video. It's important to know that universes that have already died are usually then consumed by the Hytherion, but by that point in time, the Alternity had defeated the Hytherion, creating an unbalance within the multiverse. In an effort to help put the multiverse back together, the Transtex of Nexus 208.0 Epsilon created an organization called the Convoy, made of multiple Optimus Primes and Optimus Prime-like characters, including the Transtech Optimus Prime, Leo Prime, who was once Lyle Convoy of Primax 785.06 Alpha, Sentinel Maximus of Primax 984.17 Alpha, and Clayton Abernathy of Primax 703.02 Gamma. The Convoy was supposed to bring balance to the multiverse. Meanwhile, some ships that were in Earth orbit at the time ended up going back in time for the Shattered Glass Beast Wars. Well, as you can tell, this was a big event, and I don't want to be all scatterbrained going on every detail of the event. We're going to focus on the Shroud. Not long after the Shattered Glass Beast Wars, fierce fighting was seen between the Shattered Glass Autobots against the Shattered Glass Decepticons and Classics vs. Autobots. However, during this time of turmoil, Nexus Prime arrived. Ever since the Unicron Singularity Crisis, the components of Nexus Prime had been slowly exploring the multiverse, and coming together along with pieces of the Star Saber. At this point in time, Nexus Prime had reformed, and he has returned with a complete Star Saber, a weapon that hadn't been seen since the 13 War against the Fallen and Unicron. Nexus Prime takes the Terminus Blade from Ultra Magnus and decides that too much damage has been done to the multiverse, and in order to repair it, the borders between the multiverse need to become stronger. Using the two blades, Nexus Prime is watched by other multiversal singularities as he cuts reality, beginning an event called the Shroud or Shrouding. From the point of view of the Transtex, their devices used to observe the multiverse all began to go offline cluster after cluster, and the people of Axiom Nexus began to fear that they may never be able to return to their home universes again. The Transtex thought that the multiverse had been destroyed before they received contact from Gargant 1084.29 Alpha, or the GoBots cartoon universe. So what exactly did the Shroud do? Well, theoretically it made the borders between the universes stronger and cut off multiversal singularities. That being said, there have been multiple instances of universe hopping since the Shroud happened. Universe jumping is not impossible, but it is theoretically harder to do, not that the source material actually reflects that. If multiversal singularities were a block of cheese, then the Shroud was a cheese grater. Multiversal singularities fragmented and divided across the multiverse. Two pieces of grated cheese are two different pieces of cheese, but they both were once part of the same block of cheese. Interestingly enough, at least when the Shroud was in its early stages, these divided multiversal singularities knew that they had been divided from once a greater being. Being a multiversal singularity, Primus managed to stay himself while serving as Cybertron in Shattered Glass, but once being separated from the main singularity, Primus of Shattered Glass was affected by the reverse polarity laws of that universe, and the same can be said for Unicron. The Shroud took place in October of 2015 Quadwall time, or R-time, meaning every new appearance of a previously thought to be multiversal singularity character in new releases after October of 2015 is a post-Shroud version of themselves, meaning they are no longer multiversal singularities. The Shroud also allows for new origins or members of the 13, or what have you, for new universes and characters previously thought to be a multiversal singularity. Now, what about universes that existed before the Shroud that are still continuing after the Shroud? Well, there is a misconception that the Shroud removes the entire idea of multiversal singularities, both past and present. However, quantum events, like events involving the 13, still did happen. To say that there was a retroactive change to continuity is to say any piece of Transformer media before October of 2015 is not canon, which is just ridiculous. Any story that is written in the future but takes place before the Shroud very well could have multiversal singularities again. Tyran 707.04 Delta and Primax 1005.19 Gamma are the main source of questions involving the Shroud, and really, it requires a lot of abstract thinking to make sense of it all within the multiverse after the Shroud. Primax 1005.19 Gamma can kinda get away with its past, because everything we know about what would actually be considered multiversal singularities is told through someone else, and any reveal they do in the future can be chalked up to the unreliable narrator after the Shroud. So, in the end, we may never really know what role the multiversal singularities had in this reality, beyond what we know that they contributed to every other reality. Tyran 707.04 Delta is an interesting case because it is the catalyst for multiple quantum events like the creation of the Allspark Cube, the end of the 13 War, and the Revenge of the Fallen. It is here where we could have seen, through empirical evidence, the impact the Shroud had on reality after October 2015 Quadwall time. Quintessa, the so-called Prime of Life, would be an interesting case of a post-Shroud version of the Primes. However, we can't comment too much on the Last Night, as Quintessa is also known as the Great Deceiver. So, like 98% of the things said in the Last Night is really up in the air as to whether it's true or not in the first place. Now, with these two videos, there is a lot to wrap your head around. I'm sure you have questions, so I'll do my best to answer them in the comments below, and might make another video addressing some of the most common questions. Join the discussion on the Primus Prime 22 subreddit as well for more discussion on Transformers lore, and join the Discord to talk with others who enjoy the subject. Subscribe if you have not yet. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day, ladies and gentlemen.